For decades, Apple has been one of the most influential companies on earth. From the smartphone in your pocket to the laptop on your desk, Apple helped shape the modern digital world. Its products are known for sleek design, innovation, and a loyal fan base. But behind the polished aluminum and glowing logos lies a far more complicated story. Apple's rise wasn't just about revolutionary products. Along the way, the company has faced criticism over aggressive business tactics, legal battles, labor issues in its supply chain, and environmental concerns. In this video, we're going to explore the lesser known and more controversial side of Apple's history, from its chaotic founding to the ethical questions surrounding how the modern tech industry operates. This isn't about tearing down a company that changed the world, it's about understanding the full story. Apple was founded in 1976 by three men: Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Ronald Wayne. The company famously began in the garage of Jobs' parents in Los Altos, California. Their first product, the Apple I, was suspiciously sold to hobbyists for about $666, but it was the Apple II, released in 1977, that truly launched the company. It became one of the first mass-produced personal computers and helped ignite the entire home computer revolution. Yet even in these early days, Apple's story was filled with dramatic decisions. Ronald Wayne, the third co-founder, sold his 10% stake in Apple for just $800 only weeks after the company had started. If Ronald had kept that stake, it would be worth hundreds of billions today. Meanwhile, Steve Jobs developed a reputation as both a visionary and a demanding leader. Former employees often describe him as brilliant but extremely intense, pushing teams toward perfection even when it meant enormous pressure. In the early days of personal computing, Apple became known for aggressively protecting its ideas and technology. One of the most famous conflicts involved a graphical user interface, the system of windows, icons, and a mouse that we now associate with modern computers. In the 1980s, Apple accused Microsoft of copying the interface used in the Macintosh when Microsoft released the Windows 1. The irony is that Apple itself had drawn inspiration from technology developed at Xerox PARC, a research laboratory that pioneered many early computer interface projects. The dispute led to years of legal battles, though Microsoft ultimately continued developing Windows, which would eventually dominate the PC market. In more recent years, Apple has also faced criticism over the control it maintains within its digital ecosystem. Unlike many competitors, Apple tightly controls what software can run on its devices through the App Store. Developers who sell digital goods inside apps have historically paid commissions of up to 30%. The issue exploded into public view in 2020 when Epic Games, the creator of Fortnite, sued Apple, arguing that the company held too much control over the mobile app marketplace. This lawsuit sparked a global debate about whether technology companies should act as gatekeepers for digital platforms used by billions of people. But Apple's controversies extend far beyond software. Some of the most serious criticisms involve how its devices are manufactured. Apple does not manufacture most of its products directly. Instead, it relies on a vast global supply chain with large portions of production handled by the companies such as Foxconn. Foxconn operates enormous manufacturing complexes that assemble many of the world's smartphones, tablets, and computers. Beginning in the late 2000s, investigations by journalists and labor organizations brought attention to the difficult working conditions inside some electronic factories. Reports described long working hours, strict production quotas, and crowded dormitory-style living conditions for workers. In 2010, a series of workers at Foxconn facilities sparked international scrutiny of the pressures inside the global manufacturing industry. Apple responded by introducing supplier responsibility programs, increasing factory audits, and publishing annual transparency reports about labor standards. But labor concerns surrounding Apple's supply chain extend beyond factory floors. Some of the most serious criticisms involve the mining of cobalt, a mineral essential for lithium-ion batteries. Around 70% of the world's cobalt supply comes from the Democratic Republic of Congo, a country rich in natural resources but historically affected by political instability and economic hardship. Much of this cobalt is extracted through a mix of industrial mines and smaller artisanal mining operations where individuals dig for minerals using basic tools. At some of these sites, workers operate in extremely dangerous conditions, entering unstable tunnels, handling toxic dust, and working without protective equipment. Human rights organizations such as Amnesty International have documented reports of children working in cobalt mining areas. In 2019, a lawsuit was filed in the United States by families from the Congo. who alleged that several major technology companies, including Apple, Google, Microsoft, and Tesla, had benefited from cobalt linked to hazardous mining conditions involving child labor. The lawsuit alleged that some children were injured or killed in tunnel collapses while mining cobalt. The companies named in the lawsuit have denied knowingly sourcing minerals produced through child labor. Apple has repeatedly stated that it has zero tolerance for child labor within its supply chain. The company has also invested in programs aimed at improving transparency and responsible sourcing of minerals. However, critics note that tracing minerals through complex global supply chains remains extremely difficult. Cobalt often passes through multiple traders, refiners, and suppliers before reaching battery manufacturers. Another major criticism surrounding Apple involves the environmental impact of modern electronics. Manufacturing smartphones and computers requires rare minerals, massive energy consumption, and global shipping networks. Electronic waste has become a major global problem. The United Nations estimates that the world generates more than 50 million tons of e-waste each year. Apple has taken several steps in response to environmental criticism. The company says its corporate operations are now carbon neutral and has invested heavily in renewable energy for its offices and data centers. Apple has also introduced recycling programs and even built specialized robots designed to disassemble old iPhones and recover valuable materials. One of these robots, known as Daisy, can dismantle hundreds of devices per hour to extract reusable components. Still, critics argue that electronic companies could do more by designing devices that are easier to repair or upgrade, reducing the need for frequent replacements. Despite the controversies, Apple's impact on modern culture is impossible to ignore. Products like the iPod and the iPhone have reshaped entire industries. The iPhone alone transformed how billions of people communicate, access information, and interact with the digital world. But this transformation also created new debates around issues like screen addiction, digital privacy, and the growing influence of technology in everyday life. Apple helped to build the modern digital ecosystem, but that influence has also raised new questions about how much power technology companies should hold. Apple's story is not simply one of heroes or villains, it's the story of a company that revolutionized technology, reshaped global industries, and created some of the most iconic devices in modern history. But it is also a story filled with controversy, ethical debates, and difficult questions about the cost of innovation.